have my assistant just leaving. Don't lock the don't slam the door again. Hi guys. I'm not sure if anyone will find me over here because we had technical difficulties on the original 75th Spin YouTube setup where I scheduled a live, but that's okay. I'm live now. The baby is ready. And today I wanted to give a couple minutes of behind the scenes of what happens at the Spin, because I do get questions about, how do you make it work, and how, the main thing, the main question, number one question I get with the Big Wheel of Birth is, how do you come up with your topics? So I wanted to give you a little bit of insight in case you're interested in how I come up with my topics. My first go-to is really from questions that I get from doula clients or in childbirth class. So in my childbirth class, one of the things that I like to do is I like to pass out note cards. I just love index cards anyway. I don't know. Office supplies are fun. And I ask everyone to write down if there is one question that they want answered from the class, then what is it? And then I collect them. And then usually while I'm teaching the class, I try to make sure that I cover all of those questions. It also gives students kind of a time to write, either submit questions that they might not be comfortable sharing or asking, especially on the first day of a class. And the other thing that I like to ask on my index cards is what is, if you can leave this class knowing one thing or being prepared in one way, what would that be? And that is what that is what I do. So I have those questions. It's fine. Sorry, technical difficulties. So it's not on the original YouTube channel on the YouTube. It's on a separate one. I know it's not going to be there. It's going to be live on another link. So anyway, sorry about that. Okay, so I take these index cards and I have collected them over the years, and so I look through them and check on them and use them when I'm thinking about topics of the wheel. The other thing that I do is I like to just kind of scan through my favorite childbirth ed supplies, my favorite teaching materials. So I teach with Plumtree Baby. You can tell I use this a lot. And sometimes I will just look through at some of the topics and make sure that I have covered those topics on the wheel. I also look through a Lamaze book that I love a lot called Giving Birth with Confidence. And that is a book from Lamaze, and I just like to look through here and see what are some topics that I haven't covered there. So that is how I pick topics for the wheel. Another question that I get is every Spin actually recorded live? And the answer to that is not always. A lot of times I will batch a few. So I will do, especially if I have meetings or something on a day and I know I won't have time to film, or if I'm out of town, I won't have time to film. So that's when I might film some in advance. The other thing you might not know is that sometimes when the spinner lands on a topic, I don't want to talk about that topic and I re-spin. That actually happened on the episiotomy video, I think. Yes, the episiotomy video. If you check out that, you will probably see that it landed on position or something like that, and I changed it to episiotomy because I had just gotten a question about episiotomy. So, and then my last question that people send ask me is, how much do I prepare on these topics? And I don't do a ton of preparation because I feel like I'm better just talking from what I know, and I kind of think of it as I'm teaching a childbirth class and I have a student out there in the world that's asking a question, and this would be my answer to that question. So there have been a couple of topics that I have stopped and done a little bit of research on if I don't have some numbers and I know I want to share some numbers, but that is not usually the case. So in the live, I am giving away my favorite water bottle. So if you want to be entered to win this water bottle, send an email to info@supportingher.com And how cool is this? I know I showed this during my last live. It is in chat, I think. And what's awesome about it is it can be anywhere. You can be at any position, lying down, and you can drink from it, which is really cool when you are nursing too. Because hydration is so important when you are nursing. So postpartum and labor, this is my favorite, and I am going to give that away later today. Okay, so let me show you the spinner. It's a little bit different. Whoa, baby, and the spinner. So I have changed up the spinner a little bit. You might see another color. I took off all of the topics that I had already covered so that we don't get the same topic twice. And I'll put the baby down here with my other props that I'll have just in case. And I replaced them, if you'll notice, with the same topic. So I thought about what is the topic that I haven't spoken about on the wheel that I'd really love to speak about. And that is care providers. So choosing a care provider. So I kind of weighted the wheel with that topic in green. Still have my blue topics, and let's just see if that topic is going to be the one to come up, right? Okay, here we go. Ready? Okay, that's what happens when you weight the wheel. The topic is care provider. Okay, so this is such an important topic, and that's why I added it so many times to the wheel. Choosing your care provider means so much to the success of your birth experience. So when I say care provider, what I mean by that is who will be taking care of you, who is the medical professional that will be taking care of you for your labor and your birth. So this is going to be either an OB/GYN doctor, possibly a family practice doctor, or a midwife, or maybe a combination of those healthcare providers. You might also be seeing a maternal fetal medicine specialist. If you are high risk or have any kind of extra health challenges, you might also have another doctor that's seeing you as well, or another care provider that's seeing you as well. So there is a tendency for people to stay with the care provider that they have used when they had regular gynecologic care, their regular pap smear, their regular exam, and just stay with that care provider and just not even consider leaving them. And this is something that I would really love if I could tell all of my students, everyone that's pregnant, is to really give the choice of care provider some serious critical evaluation. And I've even heard people say, oh, I'm just going to go with my regular OB/GYN this time, and then maybe the next baby I'll think more about it, which is, to me, just not recommended. It's not what I recommend. I think it is so important to think about what are your priorities for your birth, and then find out if the care provider that you are choosing are in alignment with those priorities. So a big thing to think about is whether you want to be under the care of a doctor or the care of a midwife. And I do have a video on midwives I'd love for you to check out if you're not familiar with the midwifery model of care. I can also put a link in the description about that. But midwives and doctors often have a different philosophy about birth. They have a different way of treating birth and thinking about birth. So and different people relate to the different types of care providers differently. So I think it's something to consider. Also, I would find out if the philosophy of your care provider is one that matches your philosophy about birth. If you're someone hoping for an unmedicated birth, then you probably want to work with a midwife or a doctor that is supportive of that. Someone who has worked with a lot of families that are looking for that type of birth, someone who is very familiar with it. It doesn't seem strange. And also, when you ask the questions, that you aren't, that your choices aren't sort of put down or made fun of. And when I say that, it probably sounds kind of crazy to some people, like, why would a doctor put down your choices or your decisions? But I have seen it so much. I've definitely worked with clients that said, I asked my doctor about going natural, avoiding intervention and an epidural, and they really said that it's very hard and most people don't do it, and I think you should be open-minded to other things, which it's so crazy to me because I think about if birth were like a marathon, right? And you told your doctor, I'm training for a marathon. Say you told, a friend or a doctor, and they were like, most people can't do it. Yeah, I don't think I probably wouldn't do that. You should probably just be open-minded to just stopping and walking and, quitting halfway through. Like, what? It's so strange. So if you are looking for that type of birth, if you're looking for something, if you have particular preferences or things you want to avoid or things that you're interested in, it is super important to talk to your care providers in advance about this. And when I mean in advance, I would like to see it way in advance, like as early in the prenatal care as possible. And the reason for that is if you find that you're not aligned with your care provider that you had been going to in early pregnancy, that you have time to find someone that you really like. So ask those questions, meet with, and if it's in a practice, if you're in a practice of different midwives or different doctors, make sure you can see a couple of them, especially if there is a chance that you will, any chance they'll be with any of them when you go into labor, so that they have similar philosophies and similar ways of going about treating you when you're in labor and birthing. Also, you can ask them, do you feel like this is a philosophy that is the same for all of your team, your other colleagues, and do you feel pretty comfortable that this is the kind of care that I'll get from them as well? The other thing about choosing your care provider is if you have a specific health issue or maybe like if you're trying for a VBAC, I would make sure that I was with someone who has experience in that, because you want, if you have the choice. Now, I know a lot of people are limited with maybe what they have access to if they're in a smaller town, and also if your insurance doesn't give you a lot of options. So that's definitely important to consider as well. But someone who has experience if you have a specific health issue or if you're trying for VBAC or something like that, I would make sure I worked with someone, if I could, who has experience in that. So it's okay to leave your healthcare provider. It's kind of like I've heard some people compare it to like leave your hairdresser. Oh, I can't get my hair cut somewhere else because I've been going to them for years. And it's kind of, the reality is that they won't miss you. And I know that sounds harsh, but it's true. I don't know how many times I've had people say, I transferred to another midwife or another doctor and I just got my paperwork sent over and no one called me or asked me like why you're transferring, right? Funny enough, when I left my OB to have my third baby and I left my OB to go to a home birth, I never called or canceled anything because I didn't need to, and they never called and checked on me. So as far as they're concerned, they probably think I'm still pregnant. He's 12 now, but maybe not. But what I mean by this is don't overthink how they're going to feel, because it's really your birth, and taking control of it and choosing a healthcare provider that is on the same page as you, that you feel comfortable with, and you feel comfortable with the team, how they work. If you don't want a C-section, ask them about their C-section rates. Ask them about, if they've worked with doulas, if you want to work with a doula. That's huge. If your practice is not comfortable with doulas and you want a doula, you're probably at the wrong practice, right? So get those hard questions out. It'll be so worth it in the end to make sure that you have someone that you trust, that is in agreement with your preferences, and not that you are going to get all of your preferences because things happen in labor, but just going into birth with a similar mindset is really recommended. So Do not put this off until week 36 of your pregnancy, or don't put off asking those hard questions until the end, because your options might be limited then. And I know it's really hard sometimes in some areas to switch healthcare providers at the end. So care provider is an important decision to make early in labor, and that is our topic of the 75th spin of the wheel. Now 75 is a lot of spins, and they can be a little cumbersome to find and locate what you need in YouTube. So we have put all the spins into a nice organized course. We took notes, we have some bullet points on there, and it's alphabetized, and it's also by sections, and you can get in for free at birtha2z.com, and that's the letter A, TOZ.com. So it's free. It's just an easy way to find these YouTube videos and get in there and check it out and make some use out of it. So thanks for hanging out with me today and getting a little behind the scenes. Don't forget about the water bottle giveaway. And I hope to see you guys tomorrow on the next spin of the Big Wheel of Birth. And it will show up in YouTube at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow and most days. Thanks, guys. See you. Bye.